So yesterday we talked about manifesto, so I said I'd do another quick video today. This one will be a lot shorter, but a lot quicker. Just about the fact that, like, I don't. All political parties are guilty of this, regardless of left, right, centre. And that is they use things as political footballs for one. Two, they don't always quite. I don't think it's necessarily about not telling us the truth, but they tell us what they think we want to hear, but very rarely actually tell us what we do want to hear. And because they use things as political footballs, there tends not to be. They tend not to actually talk about the real problems with it, but rather blame each other, and normally it comes down to money. So, I mean, we mentioned some of this yesterday, which most people probably won't watch over because it's so long, let's face it. But so, anyway, I mean, let's take the NHS for instance. Every single election, the NHS will be used as a political football. One party will accuse the other party of not looking after it. One party will always accuse, or in recent elections, both parties or all parties have accused the other parties of privatising it. And they will all claim that the party that is in power, whether it be Labour or Conservative, hasn't put enough resources into it. Now, the fact of the matter is the NHS has got money coming out of its ears. It's incredibly well financed. It's just incredibly badly run. And that's the biggest problem in the NHS. The wastage and the money that is wasted is huge. And that is the biggest problem. It needs top to bottom change in the way it does things and the way it manages things. And in some degrees this comes down as well to how governments buy things and their procurement processes, because again they are terrible. Somebody that gets offered a government contract knows that if they come along and say, right, we want you to build 10 of these for us, they can say, right, well, we can do that. It's going to take us 3 years and cost 10 billion. They know that in 24 months time, if they go back and say, oh, unfortunately we've run into a bit of a hiccup, it's going to cost another 6 billion and take another 2 years, the government will just go, okay. You know, and I mean, again, that's all. I mean, you only have to. I mean, I think by far the worst case in the history of politics has got to be the Ferries in Scotland, because they are costing about the same as a nuclear submarine, I think, or an aircraft carrier. It's absolutely ridiculous for like one, and they're still not even active. But putting that aside, it's like governments waste money. All governments. Doesn't matter who's in power, they've wasted money. And I think, as I kind of said before, I think there's a lot of people that sort of have partial time. Oh, I've always voted Labour, I'm going to vote Labour, I've already voted Conservative, I'm going to vote Conservative, I've always voted. And I think these people are very like this. They don't, there's, a lot of these people, you'll ask them why they'll say the things that they say, why they'll call the Tories one particular names, or they'll call Labour particular names, but you get sound, and they'll answer with sound bites and things like that, and they just won't give you like a genuinely good answer as to why they won't vote for another party. And I find that very strange, but that's getting on to voters, I suppose. That's not really, but anyway, getting back to what we were talking about. And again, like, you look at housing and houses and that, they keep going, we haven't got enough houses, we haven't got enough houses, we haven't got enough houses. Yet, just take like the area that I live in, they've built hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses. But I also know for a fact that in certain areas there are also 200-300 houses empty. Some of them need work, some of them don't, some are council, some are private, but they are just stood there and they are empty. And as again, I said in the very long video that precedes this one, they're building all these housing estates, and what is very cleverly happening is all these housing companies are building up to the maximum they're allowed before they have to build in new resources. So in one area you can have 800-900 houses, no new schools, no new doctors, no new dentists, no new hospitals, no improved road infrastructure. But you've got all those people, and let's face it, 800 houses, it's not going to be 800 people, it's probably going to be double that at least. So you're talking at least 1,600 people. If you're talking families and things like that, you're probably going to have 2 cars. Some may only have 1. I mean, there will be, I'm sure, some that won't have any. But at least 800 new cars. Let's just say 1 each as an average. And we know it's going to be more than that. And then they wonder why the roads are so snarled up, why the roads are so damaged, why the schools are so crowded, why the hospitals waiting lists are going up, why you can't get to see a doctor. You know, and we've got this we're in this surreal situation where we keep saying we need more houses for all of these people, but then we don't think about all the other things that those people need. And it's truly bizarre. And this government is guilty of doing it. Previous government is guilty of doing it. The government before that is guilty of doing it. The government before that is guilty of doing it. You know, and it just seems to be an ever-decreasing circle where we only do half a job. And I think what people would appreciate more than anything from our politicians from any party, because they all do it, is just actually some down to earth actual honesty. Because there are so many. I mean, none of these things are really being talked about in any particular way by parties, you know. But what we should be hearing is that, you know, yes, we've given money for potholes, but the roads are in a terrible condition. It's no longer enough. We need new infrastructure, and it's got to be built better than what is currently being built, because you drive down the M1 or the M6 or whatever, and you know there are miles and miles of roadworks with nothing happening, and it's just ridiculous. And you know it takes far too long. You look at countries like Japan and China, they can build an entire city in a bloody week. We can't even lay tarmac in a week. It's, well, bewildering. You know, we've got to get better. We've got to get better at processes, better at procurement, better at being honest with ourselves, better at looking at really what is hurting us instead of, you know, cheap political shots, because that's all from, you know, from all sides. That's all we've heard, and none of them have had a plan to fix infrastructure. You know, none of them have had a plan. That is feasible for housing. None of them have had a plan for reworking the NHS. None of them have a plan for sorting out the roads. I mean, yes, okay, I'll give the current government they do. They put a lot of money into getting, you know, like emergency potholes filled and things like that, and that's grand. That's good. It's a start, but it's not good enough, because it's not enough. I mean, like the road up there near me, it had its potholes on, but it needs resurfacing. The road down the hill needs resurfacing. The road that runs over the bridge, which obviously you won't know about, needs resurfacing. The road along the top that runs to, like, from this village down to the next little town and through to needs resurfacing. You know what gets me is all the roads in like London were really nice. None of them got no money. But yeah, and I think there are so many things that are being used as like political. It's like the green landscape. We should all try to be as green as possible. We should be greener. We should, without a doubt, we should be greener. But what you tend to find with green policies is most of them have nothing to do with being green. Electric cars aren't green. Electricity isn't green. Renewables, we're never going to create enough renewable electricity for it to be 100% green. And even green electricity isn't completely green. What do I mean by that? Well, look at solar farms. If you're putting a massive solar farm in, then you're going to be building, most likely, on some kind of greenbelt land or farmland. There's one actually near where I work, and it's basically a farm that's been sold off and solar panels. So that's a massive green space gone. That's not green. Wind debris. I know that's not a proper name, but it escapes me right now. I'm having a moment. The manufacture of them isn't green. Placing them in the ground isn't green, because again you're going to use it. Placing them offshore isn't green, because you're ruining and disturbing the seabed, which is already in a fucking mess around the UK. So again, these things all have environmental impacts. And yet there are things that we could use that are fairly green. I mean, obviously, manufacturing is never going to be particularly green. That is, there's very little way around it, unfortunately. You can make it as green as possible, but it's not going to be green. And people talk about net zero, but net zero is it's a lovely saying, but it's kind of useless. But anyway, that's a whole different video. But like, people go on, like especially vegans, about cows and we shouldn't eat meat and anyway, what they fail to realise is that you can create completely free green energy from cows using the methane gas from their shit. I kid you not. They have quite a few of them in Germany. How many do we have in this country? One. How many have been subsidised? 0. How many are being talked about? 0. How many are planned? 0. How many politicians have ever spoke about it? 0. And this is the problem with the green agenda, because the green agenda is like this. And I've seen the interesting thing about it is I've seen lots of people, because there's lots of people that think, electric cars aren't green and blah 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 for whatever reason, and they're right, they're not green. You can't really claim the internal combustion engine is green either, although again there are biofuels and completely green fuels out there. They're just ridiculously expensive. They're ridiculously expensive because no one's putting money into them, because that would not fit in with the green agenda. Now let me tell you what I mean about this. Because lots of people say, well, you only say electric cars aren't green because of the oil giants, and you're listening to the rhetoric that they pay for. The thing is, what the people that say that tend to fail to realise is that a lot of these oil and gas giants create a lot of the electricity, or have shares in the electricity companies. It's in their interest to sell us a bit of goods for electricity, because it means we'll have to keep buying shit off them, because we're still going to need gas and oil to produce the heat and electric that we need to build and make the electric cars and the electricity for the electric cars. So again, the green, and this is the trouble, we're not being honest with ourselves. We're not having a proper look at the bills of goods that are being sold to us, but more this is part of the problem, sort of social media, because everything is run off algorithms. So if you have a particular view, or you start looking at something, then the algorithm thinks, oh, you like that, so we'll give you more. So we'll give you more, we'll push that point of view onto you. But not only will they push that point of view onto you, they will push opposing points of view. No, that's not what's the word I'm looking for. Basically, they will give you the opposite view to it, but in a negative pattern. So they will have these people pushing this agenda. So saying, let's say they said everyone should only use pink soap. So they will push all of these things onto you about pink soap and how wonderful pink soap is, and that pink soap is the best thing in the world and great. But then if somebody over here says, well, actually black soap's better for you, what they will do then is what you'll get is a lot of negative impact and a lot of negative things pushed onto you about that soap. And so it reinforces the view that you already held. So unless you actually physically start looking for other things, you're not going to get that information. I mean, I think the modern generation is, they like to say they're the most informed, and I think to a degree they're the least informed, because a lot of the time they will just go with what is being shown to them as opposed to actually going and digging down and looking at what they're buying. There's been a bit of a hash together video, because I know the points I wanted to make. I don't think I've really made them very well. But my point is the fact that we need to stop taking things at face value. We need to stop just going along with sound bites, and we should really look before making decisions about things. And I mean, obviously no one's going to change their vote, I would imagine, based on anything I say, certainly, because probably no one's going to watch this, but not, sorry, there's something on in the background, but certainly not based on any of this anyway. But I think we've become kind of, I think part of the problem is we've become very American, almost very American in our thinking. It's either this point of view or this point of view, and there's no middle ground either. I think we've kind of given that up, we've lost that, and I think we need to get that back as well. If you're on the left, or it just seems to be at the moment be a battle between left and right, and anything in the centre is just getting walked all over and ignored. But again, that's kind of our own fault, because we as consumers of the news and political events aren't demanding more and aren't looking at, well, we're just taking things on face value. And again, I'm not saying that I genuinely don't believe that any of our politicians are, well, I suppose that's not entirely true. There are some dodgy ones in all parties, but I think if you look at our main parties, I don't think. I think they're trying to sell. Basically, politics is it's like going into a car dealership or something like that, and you're looking to buy something. They're trying to sell you something. They're trying to sell you their idea, their vision. So they're going to try and tell you the things that they think you want them to hear. But the trouble is, I mean, what most people, because we hear a lot about government debt and all this. Most people don't care, because most people won't tie the fact that government debt is linked to inflation. And like when obviously we had COVID and we kept everybody in a job with furlough, we borrowed a lot of money. We borrowed it from ourselves. Quantitative easing. You print more money, the pound devalues, and inflation goes up. It's simple. Debt goes up as well, obviously. And these are the things that we do need to get a control on. Some people will be bothered by that, but most people won't. What most people care about is, can they afford to live? Can they afford, to have a break? Because people do need breaks. Can you afford to go on get away somewhere for even if it's just a week, even if it's just here or something? Can you drive down the road without the suspension of your car falling off in a pothole? You know, can your kid get a good education? Can you get a job that, you know, you are happy in? You know, and I think politicians seem to miss that. It seems to go over their head. I don't know. Maybe I'm just waffling. Maybe you agree with me. Maybe you don't. I'm going to finish it there because I'm kind of... I've got so much going on at the moment and it's all just a bit. So I'll get this uploaded. It's not the greatest video I've ever made. I appreciate that. So there'll be some more stuff coming, more coherent stuff coming, more things coming. More car videos coming soon. And alright, thanks for watching.
Jet plane headed up to the sky, spread wings and the clouds getting